Shit. There's like a delay. Okay, hold on. We'll try that again. Welcome back to another season of the RTF Show. I'm your host, Mike, here with Brother John, the campus intramural champion, as Peter Kramer will be happy to see. Brother John, how's it going? Long off season, finally back. How you doing?
Some say too long, some say too short, but it's good to be back. Season 6. I cannot believe it's season 6 already, and somehow we still don't have our shit together. But I think by lucky season number 7, we're gonna be all right.
I think we have it together a little bit more this year, despite the debacle of finding a draft date. I think we have it together more this year than we have in past years. Even when we thought we had it together in past years, we didn't.
It's true. Yeah, things are looking pretty good right now. Not as good as some of our league mates' teams, but those are looking pretty good. A little nervous on my end, but we'll get into that more for sure.
Very active off season. Including the addition of a new owner, Duncan Brownalt, who joins us in our 6th season, owner number 12. Duncan, we are happy to have you. Can't wait to have you on the show. Duncan comes to us having just been a fantasy football champion in another league. Granted, it was the Alt Family League with 6 people in it, but Duncan ran away with that league last year. So welcome, Duncan. Happy to have you.
Well, welcome to the winner's circle, Duncan. You could beat Mike.
You did.
That's a pretty good metric. I mean, most of us have beaten Mike in this league and other leagues, so you're in good company.
Sure.
But we very much appreciate you taking over the team. We'll need you to name your team. Paste, please. Excited to see. Little tidbit. Shout out Fitz, your division mate. He texted me. He was like, did Duncan and his wife combine their last names? And I was like, yes, they did. And
they did.
Was quite proud of himself. I was proud too, but I was like, it is a badass last name. It's a pretty good one, Brownall.
They did. They combined their last names. The other thing I want to do real quick is say farewell to the wild one, William Boylan. We wish him well. Bill brought a lot of chaos to this league, and I'm not sure that will be missed, but I'm sure chaos will ensue in some way, shape, or form in his honor. All right. We're here tonight to do something that John just got done doing all day at work, something he does every day at work. We're here to review some contracts.
Hell yeah. Just what I want. These are way better contracts.
We've got an expert here.
Yeah. Let's see what these deals look like.
Okay. So before we do, just a quick reminder, I think, of kind of, where the divisions stand. So we're in 3 divisions. We've got 3 divisions out there. The Sweetness division contains Jake, Steve, myself, and Kelly. That division hotly contested last year between Jake and Steve. Kelly in the mix, I think, a little bit. Myself, pretty far back. Jake obviously goes on to become the eventual champion.
Yes. Yes. Congratulations. In his second season, it was an impressive run. So,
indeed.
Congratulations, Jake. Be dethroned this year.
That is the plan. Papa Bear division, which contains Ken, his brother, Doug, Peter Kramer, and
myself.
Let's get Stroudy with it.
No,
Mr.
Well,
John
that was
Rose.
my name. That was my name,
No,
but I have fully embraced sausage fingers.
Yes, you are the veggie sausage fingers. After your epic Josh Jacobs fail, which we will talk about actually when we get to your team. The peanut division with our newest member, Duncan, Alec, and El Bombolero, Brendan, or Fitz as he is known, and Josh, the San Diego web surfers.
Which shout out Fitz again, another phenomenal iteration of the El Bombolero. He is now El Bombolero Bloodlines. It's a great name.
All right. So here's my question. Do you want to go through them division by division? Do you want to go through just in alphabetical order like we've got it in the contract workbook? What are you thinking, brother?
Division by division. And let's pay due and start with the reigning champs team.
All right, let's do it. So pulling these up right now, we are going to start with Jake's team here. Jake, and we're in the new system here. We got a new production crew, so we're not using Zoom anymore. This is become a pretty high class operation here. So getting used to some new software. So please bear with me if I'm moving a little bit slower than normal. All right, Jake. Jake's team anchored, I think, this year by Saquon. Well, and last year by Saquon Barkley. I was somewhat surprised to see Jake keep Saquon and sign him to a contract. He signed him to a 1-year deal, which I thought was interesting. He's going to have to pay $76 for Saquon this year. Drake London paying $25 for him. He's in his second year. Achan, $11 in his second year, and finishing out Tyreek Hill's contract at $29. Jake enters the auction with just $51 to spend. John, any thoughts?
I like the Saquon signing. I think 76 is probably what he would go for in auction. People don't have a ton of money. Some people have, we'll get into it, but some people do have close to $200 to spend. But 76 is not the most we've seen a player.
We saw
Christian McCaffrey went for like 89.
Yeah, 80.
Yeah,
I think $89 last year.
Yeah.
So
I
here,
think the value is right. It's a big number to stomach, but I think it's the right.
Here's the only thing I'll say about that is, if I'm Jake, and I understand it is kind of seeing the numbers play out on years 2 and 3 and getting nervous about it. Do you Do you like the 1 year signing? Would you have signed him to a 2 year deal?
Maybe a 2 year. I mean, a 2 year would be what? A little bit less, right? I mean,
yeah,
not as bad, but I could see it.
72, 74.
But of course, running backs are just
Mm-hmm.
they're it's touchy, right? So if he gets injured, and something happens that impacts this following season, it's a big cut. He's also 28, so you just don't know. Obviously, there's exceptions. Derrick Henry is still incredible, despite being 30. Kamara's older too, and still put up good numbers. So it's possible, but I mean, he's such a violent runner, and is going to get the ball fed to him this year. So I could see why Jake wanted to sort of hedge and do just a 1 year.
Yeah.
That said, he could, obviously the restricted free agent, he would have to offer him a 2 year next year. So like at the 76 mark at the very least. So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think.
Or at the 63 mark, he would have to a minimum bid of 63 on the restricted free.
Yes.
Next
but
offseason.
I mean, I don't know that the plan is really going beyond this year, right? I mean, he has Achan in London locked up for next year. I think at that point, my assessment would be you're looking this year, and if he's looking to repeat this year.
Yeah, I mean, that's it, right? Like
if you don't repeat this year, you're kind of trying to reset things for the future, right? You've got two guys on pretty good deals that are relatively young that can be future pieces. You see what comes out of this year's draft, and then you kind of reset for the future. I like Jake's team. I agree. I think Jake has a great base here, and if Achan stays healthy, and if Barkley, there's a lot of talk right now, obviously, about Barkley and the number of touches that he had last year, his ability to repeat what he did based on the number of touches that he had last year. But the guy's a freak, and I think, obviously the risk is him breaking down, but if he doesn't break down, there's no reason that just with Barkley alone, Jake can't be in the fight for at least a top playoff seed.
For sure.
Agreed. I like Jake's team. Let's move to Steve's team. I've been excited to talk about Steve's team all day. Steve radically transformed his team in the space of really about 24 hours. He traded away, I think, close to $100 in contracts, and added that
How
money.
did he do that? That's incredible.
Added that money back into his auction fund for the year. He went from, I think when he started, or when we first put the workbook together, Steve had about $54 to spend, $55, somewhere in there. He's now got 114, and that includes the signings that he made in Zay Flowers and Tucker Kraft. So this is a brand new roster for Steve coming into the year.
Mm-hmm.
He had to take some heavy cuts in terms of the Tony Pollard contract. He took back the Christian Watson contract and had to make that cut. Those were both trades, I believe. Well, so the Christian Watson contract obviously was a trade this offseason. The Tony Pollard was a trade he made last year to help with his title run that never really materialized. How are you feeling about Steve's team? Where do you think he's sitting?
I think, the Nico Collins is I mean, obviously it's in the second year, so that value alone right there. I mean, you're looking at a huge savings and probably one of the best contracts right now in the league, right? Zay Flowers also, I mean, he's the wide receiver 1 on that team. Should have a great year. And then the Tucker Craft, I mean, I was a little surprised when I saw that just a little bit ago. One could say it's a homer move, which, I'm not hating on. I have made plenty of homer moves in this league, including the 3-year contract to Darnell Mooney and to Justin Fields, both which were disastrous for me. But Tucker Craft, should be a reliable weapon in a high passing offense. So,
isn't it? This is an aside, but isn't it somewhat crazy that Justin Fields' entire Bears career started and stopped since the beginning of this league?
It's so sad.
So just to remind people of what Steve's team looked like coming into the offseason. So Steve last year had so the big thing, I think the big thing to remember is that Steve had Jamar Chase on a 3-year minimum contract that came to an end this year. So Jamar Chase re-enters the draft this year. But in addition to Jamar Chase coming off the books, Steve also shed contract from A.J. Brown at $42 this year, $43 this year. Jalen Hurts, who was on a minimum deal, I think, and James Cook, who was not on a minimum deal. I think James Cook was in a final year. I think it would have been about $24. So, he goes from a team that I think really helped him contend last year to a bigger question mark. My only question mark for Steve is, does he have enough? Did this get him enough auction funds that he's going to be able to compete this year with these 3 guys? I agree about the Tucker Craft signing. I think tight end's an area that personally I would have maybe, spent those dollars elsewhere and tried to save those.
Yeah, I mean, he could have, in theory, get Tucker Craft for under 10 in the draft, but maybe possibly not. I mean, we've got some other
Packer fans.
So maybe not.
All right. We will save my team for last. Let's go to Kelly, another team that I've been very excited to talk about all day. Kelly enters the auction with a staggering $28 to spend.
I love it.
She signed Derrick Henry and Kieran Williams, undoubtedly great players, to massive deals. She also traded quite a few of her auction dollars, 33 of her auction dollars in the season last year. And as a result, finds herself with just $28. I thought Kelly was in violation of some sort of league rule when I first saw this. John, what is your reaction to Kelly's team?
My initial reaction to Kelly's team really has nothing to do with Kelly. I mean, a little bit to do with Kelly, but tangentially. I think Peter is probably doing some sort of jig, tap dance somewhere, right now as he's listening to this and seeing this contract, because Kelly will no longer be able to just randomly bid up other people's auction bids, during the draft, as she tends to do especially with Peter, to just keep clicking like $1 more, $1 more, $1 more. So she won't be able to do that as much this year, which I find hilarious. But the Derrick Henry and Kyron Williams, two phenomenal top. Derrick Henry potentially top 1 running back in the league, and Kyron Williams, has potential to be a top 10. And so she's set herself up well. Baker Mayfield, a phenomenal fantasy quarterback, will provide plenty of a high floor for her in that position. And then Worthy, assuming he still gets all the deep balls, which I don't see why he wouldn't. Big play potential there. But how do you fill out the rest of the roster? I don't know. It's going to be tough.
Yeah.
Maybe don't keep Kyron, but
yes. I think
that would have been big.
I think you have to choose between one of those guys, especially when she's down that many auction dollars. I don't know. I don't know that I would have been keeping both of them. In Kelly's position, I probably would have been looking at this season in a little bit of a different light. But she's going for it, right? This is her saying, if I have these 2 running backs and they both finish in the top 5, I'm in it and I can make playoffs.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And you set yourself up okay for 2026. Like, she's got everything off the books in 2026 except for Baker. I think that's something, after talking to her a little bit this earlier today, it seems like that was a conscious decision to limit these to 1-year deals and sort of set herself up for a better position in 2026. I assume she'll be looking for younger flyers in the draft that potentially have could break out and be good signings for 2026. So she's kind of right in the middle there of like playing for this year, but also resetting for the following year. So
the problem is, if somebody bids more than $3 on one of those flyers, she's not going to be able to get the guy.
She probably won't. But also, another thing, like, what she's doing here, right, where like, what I could see happening later in the season is, trading a Derrick or Kyron, or even Worthy to a contender for a good amount of auction dollars, and going into 2026 with upwards of $230, $250 in auction money to really make a splash.
Yeah, I mean, Worthy, I don't know. I feel like she could have signed Worthy to a 2 or 3 year deal. I feel like he might have been worth it. He showed quite a few, he showed some splashes last year.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move. We can do my team.
Let's do your team.
And here's where we're at with the Kankakee Staleys. I kept 4 guys. I cut Dalton Kincaid, but kept 4 guys, had a little bit of extra cushion. So Brian Thomas at $11, Rashee Rice, that was a tough decision, kept at $11. Bucky Irving, $11, and T. Higgins at $14. I signed them all to 3-year deals. And this leaves me with $166 to spend in the draft. I'll go first. I am very happy with the position that I am in this year. It's exactly what I wanted this year to look like for me when I was in last year's auction. That's what I was thinking about. So I'm very happy with it, but I'll let you tear it apart, Jen.
No, I mean honestly, I don't think that there was a bad signing there, especially at the value that you're getting all these guys at. I mean, obviously Brian Thomas was phenomenal last year, and you're looking at at least a potential top 10 wide receiver or higher, and then Bucky obviously is the number one there now and is looking to take over that backfield in a high scoring offense. I mean, they move the ball. So I think that's there. T. Higgins' contract got worked out. If he stays healthy, you have a phenomenal number 2 wide receiver right there. The Rashee Rice, like, obviously there's, some sort of, suspension coming, but if you're looking long term, that's not that scary, right? That's not a huge deal. But you're in a great position right now with 166 auction dollars, second most in the league going into the draft, with some big name players out there that you can now drop $60, $70 on one of them, or potentially 2 of them, and still have upwards of $40 to fill out the rest of your roster. So I hate to say it, but I think this is one of the better rosters going into the league. So they're into the draft. So
going into the draft,
I don't think it's the best roster going into the draft, but given the number
I don't
of
think that either.
You have,
I don't think that either.
That does play a role, right? Like if you're looking at the totality, the amount of draft dollars you have plus 4 starters, it's a great position.
Going into the auction, anything can happen. Right now, I'm wearing my Jesus Shuttlesworth jersey because Jesus take the wheel. The season, I've set myself up for it. That's all I could do. And at this point, we're just holding on for dear life, hoping it works out. So, all right. Which division?
Side note, did you know that scene, right? With him playing, like Ray Allen playing
Denzel, like they were actually playing. A video recently about how Jesus was supposed to win 11-0, and then Denzel Washington was just like, fuck that, like I'm gonna play hard. And Ray Allen scored. Looked at what's his name? It's Spike.
It's Spike, and Spike was just like, what do you want me to do? Like, play some fucking defense. Like,
yeah. I've heard Denzel tell that story. It's I mean, you gotta bring your A game against Denzel. All right, let's move on to a different division. Where do you want to go? You want to go to yours? You want to go to, what do you want to do?
Let's see here. Let me take a look here. Let's move over to the peanut division.
Okay.
And go through that, and then I think save the Papa Bear division for the last.
Okay, sounds good. So peanut, let's start with the Bomboleros. And actually, let's start with Alec, because we can go down the line here almost.
Which also,
in alphabetical
love that we haven't heard from Alec more than one time in the group chat, but he's out here doing it. He's submitting contracts. He's filling out all the forms. He's been quite silent this year, though.
Bless Alec's heart. The first time I heard from him was him sending me his contracts in a text message, and me having to say, you have to put these in the form, which was about 2 minutes after I had just said in the chat, please submit all contracts. in the form. All right. Alec,
Alec.
so so Alec made like no moves last season, and came into the season with all 200, I think, basically of his auction dollars, and had expiring contracts from DJ Moore that he had to let go of, and so I, when looking at his team, I didn't love necessarily his roster last year, but he did have some big name guys on there last year. I think Justin Jefferson was on Alex's team last year. Like, he had a decent roster last year. And so here's who he kept. He kept Josh Allen, 3 years, at a steep, what I think is a pretty steep price for a quarterback, although it's the best quarterback basically in the league, or one of two. At $44 this year, $45 next year, and $46 the year after. He gave 2-year contracts to George Kittle and Jerry Jeudy. Jeudy is on a minimum deal, and George Kittle at $18 this year and $19 next year. He's left with about $126 in auction funds, which I think, given the state of the rest of the league, is plenty to make some moves in the auction. What do you think? You like this roster?
Yeah.
How are you feeling about it?
I do. I think Josh Allen, you have to resign him, right? Or you have to offer him a contract. It is certainly one of the highest contracts offered to a quarterback. I think there was maybe like Pat Mahomes had up there the high 30s or low 40s for a few years before his just epic collapse from a fantasy standpoint. In terms of value, but
you mean you mean the collapse that started exactly the week that I traded for him 2 years ago? That
would be the one. That would be the one. Yes, that's the collapse I'm referring to. I think the Kittle signing is good. He is a perennial top 8 tight end, if not better. And he seems to always play through injuries. So, I like that about him. And then Jerry Jeudy for a minimum deal, it's like that's probably what he would go for. I mean, I was just looking at his stats from 2024. 90 receptions, just over 1,200 yards, only 4 touchdowns, and so hopefully you see some positive regression, as they say, in that form. And he gets more touchdowns. The whole quarterback situation in Cleveland is a mess. But hey, if he ends up with Flacco throwing him balls, like Flacco will throw him the ball. So you could see quite some big yardage, especially early in the season if Flacco gets a start. So not bad.
I agree. The roster is not bad, and I'm trying to go through and find, because Alec had, so coming into
last
this year, Alec had Justin Jefferson and Jonathan Taylor were on his team last year. And so my question to you is, were those Justin Jefferson, he had at a price of $70. Jonathan Taylor was $64. Were those guys unkeepable at those prices?
I think so at that point, right? I mean, I don't know if we'll ever see Justin Jefferson get kept again. You know, unless somehow someone gets him for $45 or $50 in the draft, then I could see someone keeping him. But going into 2024's draft, Alec had 200 and something auction funds, $260 in auction funds.
Yeah.
And so, last year, that was his move, right? He went out early and just got his big name guys at a price that like no one else could really match, right? Like he was willing to pay up for those guys, knowing that no one else could do that. So, I wouldn't have expected him to keep those two, but looking at his roster from last year, I think he made the smart decisions to keep those three players. So I don't know if he had too many other moves to make.
Yeah, I mean, my only question was like, do you just? And I mean, I think you're right. It's hard to justify keeping a guy that's above $70, but we just talked about it with Jake. Jake, just kept Saquon. So my question is like, do you, instead of Judy and Kittle, do you sign Jonathan Taylor, who Jake had last year for $64? Do you sign Jonathan Taylor to a $74 contract this year, or $76 contract? Is that worth it? Or do you just go nuts and sign, Justin Jefferson to a 2-year deal that's in the $80 range? Or is that something you don't think you could do?
I mean, I think it's either one or the other for sure. And I think, going into the draft with two players under contract for $115,
$20, yeah.
Like that's a tough pill to swallow too. Despite those two players being, at or near the top of their positions, right? So I think it's a tough pill to swallow, but it would have been the only other move he could have made here for sure. I like the budget signings though, but hopefully he can he can still pick up another. He could still pick up Justin Jefferson for $60, $65 in the draft, and and have another $60 to spend on other positions.
Yeah. All right. Let's move to Brendan's roster. Fitz kept the max. He kept 6 guys, which
a rare move.
Yeah, I think there's only been a couple other people that have done it. I know Kramer did it.
Oh yeah.
But when we get to Kramer's team, I've got some stuff I'll reveal about his attempts to keep 6 players this year. But Fitz kept what I think is I like this roster. I wish he had like $10 more in auction funds, because I think what he's really lacking is a premier player. But any one of these guys, not any one of these guys, but I think there's a couple of these guys that could be that premier player this year. So Fitz goes into this year with Joe Burrow, Devonta Smith, Garrett Wilson, James Conner, Jameson Wilson, and Chase Brown, all under contract, all in the $18 to $12 range, with the exception being James Conner, who is on a $23 deal, which I don't love. But John, thoughts? What are you thinking from Bloodlines?
I was a little surprised he only kept Burrow for 2 years. I mean, I don't see that production falling off after the 2026 season, right? Like, why not lock him up for all 3 years? And then Devonta Smith and Garrett Wilson, they're in the final year. I don't think that they've added that much to his team. They've been solid, but Devonta Smith obviously gets targets, but is still fighting touches with Saquon and AJ Brown, and then obviously Hurts's just overall impact on that offense takes away from some of the other players for fantasy purposes. But you're kind of just there, right? And then Garrett Wilson. Sorry to say, Justin Fields has never carried a wide receiver. The top 5 wide receiver. So that's going to be uphill sledding. And then the Connor sighting was a little confusing given his age and just sort of that offense. I'm not excited about that. I've never been a big Connor fan, but I mean he does produce, but he also gets injured quite a bit. And then
I mean it's a 1 year deal.
Yeah, but you could have essentially have another $23 in auction money to spend on elsewhere. And then the Chase Brown signing is great. He's going to be the number 1 running back there. And then the Jameson Williams, it's a great value, assuming continues to produce in that offense with a new OC and whatnot. So, but I don't hate it because it's only $12, and probably spending that on a wide receiver 2 flex position potentially anyway. So, not terrible. The only one is confusing to me is the Connor one. So,
yeah,
I like it.
The Connor one I don't love. The Jameson Williams one, I like a lot. I like Jameson Williams quite a bit this year. I think he is. I don't know if he's gonna. Williams is he's a big target for me in coming into this year. I mean, he's a big play guy. He makes huge plays. I think his target rates is gonna tick up a little bit this year as they get him more involved in the offense. And it'll be interesting to see where he goes. Like, he did all the things that his career has followed kind of that typical, not the breakout wide receiver, but the typical pattern that a solid wide receiver 1 follows, in that he showed flashes in year 2, and in year 3 he boomed and really broke out. And he
was 1,000 yards last year. And had
so
average target yardage of I think it's 17 is what I just saw. So I mean, per reception, you're getting 2+ points per reception. So on average, which is great. And then he had a decent number of touchdowns. He had 7 touchdowns in 2024. So I could see that going up to potentially, or at least 7 touchdowns is great. So I don't hate it. He's only 24, so presumably he's going to get better.
I like Fitz's roster. I don't love it. I like it. I agree with both of his kind of just sucking it up and taking the cap hit on Olave and Pacheco. I think Pacheco's one of those guys that he was going to have to pay $18 for this year, and it's his last year of the contract. you can probably get him in this auction. He can probably get him for, half that price. So why not? Why not?
Yeah.
I
can see that. Yeah. And he's coming off injury, and it sounds like he's not fully ready yet, or not running as well as he was prior to the injury. And so,
yep.
It's tough. Like, I mean, I could see keeping Pacheco and not keeping Connor, but, I think you're looking at, obviously, I think a more guaranteed, a better floor with Connor, provided both of them do not get injured. But there's bigger potential, more boom, I feel like, on the Pacheco line, assuming he's fully healthy.
I agree.
I don't think it's a bad move. One of the many dead cap, or contracts that were cut this year, which was a crazy amount. So
yeah, there were a lot. I think there were 8 guys this year. All right, let's move to Duncan's team. Duncan entered the league in when I first talked to Duncan about it, or actually not even when I first talked to him about it, when Bill, left and I looked at Bill's team, my initial thought was like, oh, fuck, man. Why would anybody want to take this team over? But Bill did actually make some moves to gain some auction funds last year. He added $18 in auction funds. He had some bad contracts. 2 of them, thank God, ended in Keenan Allen and Kareem Hunt. But one of them remained in Tank Dell and another Josh Downs. 2 guys that, I think, honestly, I don't think were bad. I don't think they were bad contracts when Bill gave them out. I think they were hopeful contracts when he gave them out, but I don't think they were terrible deals when Bill gave them out. So Duncan comes into that situation. There's a little bit of other talent on his roster, but I think Duncan made the right move in cutting Tank Dell. I may have just cut Josh Downs as well. He's in the last deal, but maybe it's
I like Downs. I mean, I think he had. I just looked at his stats from 2024. I mean, 800 yards over 14 games played, and then 5 touchdowns. So not a ton, but obviously, like, that quarterback situation there is just atrocious. But he should get plenty of targets, right? So that's the only thing that I think that, like, it could save him there. If he puts up 1,000 yards, that's a great signing or that's a great, keeping him for the year. So.
I guess my feeling is Downs is maybe somebody that he could have got for $3 or $4 in the draft.
Potentially,
because
I would have wanted that, but
yeah, sure. I mean, ultimately, though, he's in the last year of his deal, so you're not keeping him beyond this year, which is good. But the one real kind of value add spot that Duncan had was Ladd McConkey. He gets Ladd on a 3-year deal at the minimum price. So that's enormous. The other thing that means is that Duncan comes in to the draft with the most money available to him, $187. And I just want to highlight this because the gap is huge between Duncan and other teams. $187. I have the next highest amount of money at $166, and then below me, $24 below me, is Josh at $142, And then you've got, Kramer at 123, Alec at 126, but there is no one with the, I'll say it this way. There's one person who's within $40 of Duncan's auction funds.
Now, the question is, has he done an auction draft before?
And the answer is, I do not believe so.
Well, hopefully he's going to do some mock drafts prior to this. Obviously, it's hard with the way our league is set up and like the what you see as like average auction prices on like let's say pro fantasy or whatever.
Yeah,
they can vary a bit. They just given that people have less dollars to spend and the contracts that are out there, but you can go out and get a few big guys without hurting too much, right? So it'll be interesting to see how this. I mean, I remember my first auction draft. We all remember that first season trying to draft, and no one knew what they were doing and going. And some players going ham, other people like leftover money. It always happens.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. I mean, I think Duncan has to be aggressive. He's got the least amount of players kept. He's only got 2 guys that he kept, which I believe is the lowest. And one of the guys is startable. I think Josh Downs is probably not somebody you want to start the season with in a starting roster slot. At least that's my estimation of Josh Downs. I wouldn't necessarily want him in a wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 slot for me. So he's got to be aggressive. I think Duncan's got to come out and kind of, spend a lot of money and get it going.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see. His team it really is a blank slate of a team for him.
Yeah, which honestly is not the worst position coming into a league, such as this. Like you are in control of your destiny at this point, and not too beholden to moves made by previous owners. The Tank Dell, it's unfortunate. Will he even play this year? I don't know.
I don't think so. No.
So,
I mean, the Tank Dell is a 1-year cap hit. Once he gets past this year, he sheds the Josh Downs money. He's got Ladd, who presumably continues to flourish in Los Angeles. I mean, so I think the future is bright here, and could be. It's going to depend on what he does with this money. So we'll see. Who is the last team in this division? Remind me. Josh. All right. So. Josh. Oh gosh, man, this computer. Josh made a big splash too. Josh made a bunch of trades, several with Steve, 2 with Steve, and comes into the season with 5 guys that he is signed to contracts. That is not what I thought his roster would look like coming into this season. He actually only had, if we go back to last season, so last season, Josh had Kyle Pitts, Javonte Williams, both of whom are finished. Their contracts were ending. Last year was their last year.
It's got to feel good. It's got to feel good for
indeed,
for Josh to get those 2 out of there.
Yeah. Christian Watson, who was cut by Steve in a trade we've already discussed a little bit about, and Anthony Richardson. None of those people remains on his roster. He now has A.J. Brown for $43 in the last year of a deal, James Cook for $24 in the last year of a deal, Chuba Hubbard in a 12-year or $12 deal for 1 year, TJ Hawkinson for 1 year, $12, and Scary Terry McLaurin at $12 on a 2-year deal. He still has $142 in auction funds that he can spend. I think Josh is in pretty good shape. I mean, I like what he did this year. I don't love necessarily all the contracts, but I like what he did. It's short-term money, and he's got enough money to play around with and really go after, a big star, which I think this team, with a big star, could be a, really lethal one. So I like where he's at.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the 1-2 punch of AJ Brown and Terry McLaurin, that's a great position to be in at wide receiver. James Cook, solid running back, maybe low end RB1. And Chuba, I think he's not like anyone's favorite guy, and it seems like he's always in jeopardy of losing his starting role, but has held on to it and has produced, and so it's a great asset for that price. And then the TJ Hawkinson, I think it's a pretty decent flyer. I mean, he's very good. It's just sort of what's going to happen at that quarterback position, and how that play will translate. And given the number of Jefferson and Addison on that team too, so touch wise, we'll see what happens. But I don't hate it. It's crazy that he has 5 players under contract and still has $142 left for this auction. I mean, the trades he made at the end of last season to secure auction dollars was phenomenal.
Yep.
You see a deep run from Josh, our former champion from year 2. Makes another deep run here. You can certainly look back potentially on 2024 and 2025 as one of the better rebuilds we've seen in the league so far. So very impressive that he was able to do that and
agreed,
put himself in a position to have a good draft.
Agreed. I think it's interesting. Josh went. I was comparing the situation that Josh was in and the situation that I was in because I think we both, last season wasn't our year. We both had some contracts we didn't necessarily love coming into the off season. Josh went about it rebuilding specifically for this coming year. I think, these short-term contracts, guys like AJ Brown, who are on big deals with no years ahead of them, James Cook, big deal, no year ahead of them, versus, I think, trying to kind of save some of that money and maybe build through the draft this year, which I think would have been a fine strategy, but I love that Josh went for it. This is he put this roster together thinking I'm going to win it this year, I think. Which is great. So, all right, last division. This always happens. We take too long on each team. Now it's we've been doing this for a while. We got to get to the last division, which contains you, which is good because then nobody's going to listen to that. So
yeah, but the people in our division, at least 2 of them will listen to this whole
That's
podcast just to hear us.
just to
talk
get
about it.
just to get through their teams. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
So we can start with me.
No. Let's
me out
start
of the
with
way.
Doug.
No.
Let's start with Doug because we both know who we're talking about, and we'll make those.
Yeah.
We'll make them wait. Doug. All right. Doug matches the Bijan Robinson contract, $62. I think it's a great move too. It's something you had to do. Signs Jaden Daniels to a minimum deal, 3 years, and signs Trey McBride to a 2-year deal that pays him $26 this year, $27 next year. Now, each of these I want to talk about real quick. One, the Bijan, you have to match it. He's worth more than that, and there's really no, there's no not matching that. So Doug had the money, he had to go for it. The only thing I'll say is John's rule that he instituted about year one being the offer of the match. We're gonna have to figure out what that means for year 2 because I couldn't figure out how to do the initial year. So that'll
be more. That'll be 62 plus 20%. So
okay,
it'll be more for sure. Which is, I mean, I still think that's a great deal for him, right? So
it's gonna be
that is not correct, but
I
mean, when we, we'll have to figure out just, I think, as we reform some of this stuff and, upgrade our whole process.
Our systems.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think the Bijan trade, the Bijan signing, re-signing, Jaden Daniels, obviously you locked that up right away. 3 years.
So
I mean, things could go bad.
There's
no reason to not do that.
Yeah, I mean, is there any worry that Jaden Daniels is, in the same vein, that contract is going to end up being in the same vein as the Anthony Richardson contract
or the CJ Stroud contract, right? I mean,
CJ Stroud contract, or the Justin Fields contract that you're still paying.
Well, the Justin Fields contract was just dumb because he didn't have a rookie year like. He kind of did. He was a great fantasy player, but he was just not a good football player, which indicates he won't be around.
He's not going to be around for a while,
right? But CJ Stroud's first year, was really good. Jaden Daniels' first year was really good. So, but not to say Jaden Daniels is CJ Stroud. So, I think you have to make this offer. I think.
I totally agree. He's worth more than. I mean, he's going to pay him $34 over the next 3 years. He's worth that this year. Almost.
Yep.
So you have to pay him. And then the Trey McBride contract. Trey McBride, popular positive regression candidate for this year, given that he had did he have 0 touchdowns last year? Did he get a touchdown last year? I think he got one.
Two touchdowns.
Okay.
1,100 yards on 100.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He had a great year. He was basically the only player on that team that caught the ball. So I mean, I think again, this is a great deal. It's always hard to give, I think, big money like that to a tight end. It's always a little worrisome, at least for me.
Yeah.
But if you're going to give it to somebody, I think Trey McBride is a good choice. And him and Kyler Murray clearly have a connection anywhere but the red zone. But clearly have a connection on the field. And so and it's not one of those things that I think is like a a 1 year, flash in the pan. Like he was good the year before too. Um, he really came into his own obviously last year, but he was good the year before.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the amount of money is tough to swallow, but I think you got to go out and get your guy. Like, I think if that's Doug's betting on him, then I think it's money well spent. Obviously it's probably one of the most expensive contracts for a tight end that we've seen and will see, but at the end of the day, you want your best player, you want to keep one of your best players. So 1,100 yards from a tight end is phenomenal.
All right, let's move to John's team. As we do that, I am gonna pull it up right here. But I also am wondering, John, is this your final keeper? Is this what you're doing? Because you weren't sure about EK Metcalf up until about an hour.
I submitted the form.
Okay, thank you.
Submitted the form. We're good to go.
Great to hear. All right, we will take
the
question marks off there. Okay, Josh Jacobs. John keeps Josh Jacobs at $43, matching the restricted free agency offer. DK Metcalf at $26 on a 1-year deal. And CJ Stroud at $15 on a 3-year deal. He's got 1 year left. You've got $113. How are you feeling?
Not great. At the end of last year, if you remember, right up to the trade deadline, I was still mathematically in the playoff.
Yeah, we know. Yeah.
But everyone was discounting me, and I kept losing. But I was like, I'm still in it. And I never traded off any of my guys. I really should have. Would have loved to have some good auction money right now. But I'm okay. I think I don't know if I'm maybe sneaking in for a wild card position this year again. So I need to make that decision. I think be more realistic about my chances. Obviously, look, I was coming off of back-to-back championships. I didn't want to give it up. Okay, I just couldn't give up.
I know.
So, but I also didn't go all in last year to trade away auction money. So, kind of played the middle, and you never win when you play the middle. So, I think I like my keepers, but not stoked.
You're in a tough spot. The CJ Stroud contract, you really have to hope he bounces back this year. It makes sense to match the Josh Jacobs thing. I get it. DK Metcalf is like, $26. Like that's right around what you might pay for him. If you went to try to get him in the auction. So I guess that's fine. I think the most exciting thing on your workbook page is this number right over here, that you'll be done paying Justin Fields after this year. So, that's got to feel good. It's your last $3 that you have to spend on Justin Fields.
One of the I also did this with Darnell Mooney. Like, I think I'm the only person to pay a dead cap hit on multiple years for a single player.
So far,
maybe Peter. Maybe So far,
I will have to do it next year, John Kramer. I think will have to do it next year too.
I think Kramer. I can't remember what his Ridley deal with Ridley was, but
Well, we're going to get to. I mean, Ridley is still on his roster, isn't he?
Oh, really? Oh, I thought he cut him. Oh, okay. Well, we can move on from me. Not much happened there. So.
Well, let's get to Peter because if he cut Ridley, I need to know.
No, I don't think he did. I mean, I can confirm.
Okay.
I don't think he did. Now that you're saying that, I think I just assumed he would have, but
okay. Cut Jordan Love, who he will be paying into the next season. But yeah, let's take a look at Peter's roster. Peter is he's got Puka, he's got Laporta, he's got Ken Walker, who he picked up in restricted free agency and just traded for Lamar Jackson today. He also has Calvin Ridley. I think he enters the auction with $123 in auction funds. I think PK's in decent shape. I like his team. You know, the Calvin Ridley thing is, I'm assuming it's like, why, you know, I'm not going to pay dead cap on two guys. So I might as well just keep Calvin Ridley. It's the last year of his deal. I'll just keep doing it. Maybe there's an outside shot. He has a decent year this year.
I think I did see something last year where Calvin Ridley had the most like unrealized air yards in the entire league.
Well. Yeah.
That like, you know, he just was not had no one was throwing the ball well. So like, if he ends up, you know, actually getting on target passes, like it could still work out for Peter and be one of the kind of, you know, driving factors of getting Peter back into a deep playoff run, potentially into the championship. You know, given the first 3 years of the season of the year of the league, first 3 years of the league, Peter was in the championship every year. So,
I mean, I feel like Calvin Ridley didn't have a terrible year last year. Like he was fine. He was fine the year before that. I just don't know. I'm not in love with Calvin Ridley this year, but I digress. Peter sent me a trade offer this morning for Braylon Allen, thinking that he wanted to keep Braylon Allen, who was on my roster. He said it was just a test of my mental state later on in the day. I'm not so sure about that. It brought into question for me Peter's mental state coming into this season. You know, I see a little bit of panic in Peter. I think he is hoping that this works out. I think he really, really should be happy that the Josh Jacobs signing didn't go his way, and that the Bijan. The Bijan thing would have. It might have been fine this year, but if he had gotten all three of those guys, I don't know what the hell he would have done. He'd have a pretty good roster.
Oh yeah, he'd have Ken. He would have had to keep Ken. He would have Bijan and Josh Allen. But you don't trade for Lamar then.
No, he wouldn't have had Lamar.
But you are committed to Nakua, Laporta, and Ridley. I'm sure he did the math. And I'm sure Peter will tell us in the chat if those all went through, how much auction money would he have had left? Peter, please drop that in the chat and let us know. I'm sure he did the math. It could not have been much.
No,
maybe less than Kelly.
I like Peter's team. I think Peter's in good shape for this year. He's got $123 left. I think like a lot of other teams, like he's got good guys on his roster. Yeah, I think he's in good shape. I mean, Puka, the Puka deal is fantastic. There's not many contracts in the league that are better than that. So,
yeah, it's so frustrating that he had Justin Jefferson and then for a minimum deal, and then picks up Nakua for a minimum deal as well. That was one of the most frustrating experiences of the league so far. So cool.
Agreed. Pretty irritating. All right. Let's look at our last team. Ken's going to love that we held him off till the last spot. Ken, who, you know what? We don't even need to spend much time on Ken's roster. I'm just going to say, I think Ken is the best setup right now in the league. If Breece Hall pops off this year, I'm not sure there's a team that teams are going to have a lot of trouble catching Ken. And I am glad I'm not in his division because
it's rough.
He's set up pretty well. Brock Bowers at $12, Breece Hall $28, Jahmyr Gibbs at $35. He really probably should have signed Gibbs to it. He'll have the opportunity in restricted free agency next year if we still have it, which is maybe that Jahmyr Gibbs contract is why Ken voted to keep restricted free agency after lobbying against it for so long. He's got Jalen Hurts, who he traded for $13. Malik Neighbors at $28, and Jackson Smith Jigba at $11, who we signed this year. He's still got $76 he can play with in the auction, which isn't a ton, but given the names he's got on his roster, I think he's got to be comfortable with where he's at right now.
Really, you're not, he has his quarterback. He has every skill position, right, filled out in his starting roster. And so, if you're just looking at, defense kicker, there's $2 there. So he's got $74 to spend, going in on potentially even another big name player, right? And then picking up, backups and flyers, to fill out the roster. But this is probably one of the best rosters going into a draft that we've seen in three years or more. Peter Kramer rosters going into auctions, in 2022, 2023 were phenomenal. But this is could be
also I think Steve had some pretty good rosters the last couple of years. That Chase contract, he had a few other guys I feel like that were.
Yeah, it hurts. So, yeah, for sure.
But I think Ken is in great shape, and there's no need to say anything more.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. Say less, as the kids say.
Okay. We are way over on time, and so I had a fun little exercise that we would do right at the end, but now I'm just going to flash up there for rage bait, as the kids would say at the end of this. I fed all of your shitty contracts and all of your shitty auction money that was remaining into ChatGPT. I gave it Fantasy Pros's auction rankings for this year, and I told it to go to town and give me some rankings on who's in the best shape. You're gonna love what it came back with.
Let's see. This can't be right, but
so
besides even you being at the top, it can't be right because I'm number 4. So That's just wrong.
Here's an explanation of the metrics. I don't know. My instructions to it were to basically look at the difference between what their keeper cost and what the player's value was and what its value was on the cheat sheet, and then kind of back the rankings and how much auction money they'd have left. It put that all together and gave us a composite score. I wonder if this was run through anybody else's ChatGPT account, if it would return something similar. It is aware that my name is Mike, and so I
interesting.
assumed that this was my team. So I wonder
should have given yourself an alias. Should have.
Yeah.
I don't. The rankings are not bad, minus like me being so high. But
yeah, I agree. I think there's some. I would move you down.
Way down. Yeah, I'd be way down.
And yes, and I would probably move Jake up a little bit. I might move Fitz up a little bit. Duncan is. It's tough because he's such a blank slate, and so much of it depends on, what's going to happen. But in the draft, so I think having Duncan around 10 or 11 isn't bad for now. And
it's one of those things where, like, also looking at this, like, if one of the metrics was, total difference between keeper cost and cheat value, in like the ADPs, like Duncan didn't have any contracts, so then it doesn't give him a score that's high in that specific category, which could contribute to his composite score being lower. So there's that. Then same thing with Kelly, like good contracts, but remaining funds she gets a much lower score on. So could see that being why. But the same thing with Jake, right? Yeah, like it's same thing with Brandon.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right.
I hate it. That's great. I think you did it.
All right, we are way over on time. I'm tired. The only thing I wanted to do before we head out, and actually now I realize I closed the window, but what I was going to do was just check real quick to see if we had, because it is right now 10:40 Central Time. So I thought we'd check right at the end of the show to see if we had any last minute contracts that were put in, or if there were any changes made to the contracts that had already been submitted that would have nullified this entire show. So I'll share my screen and we can take a quick look. This is the contract list. Nothing. Looks like the last one was your DK Metcalf contract at 9 o'clock Central Time. Meaning, I think it's safe to say, I think we're probably about done with contracts. I don't think there'll be many other surprise contracts coming in this year. So
I doubt it. But
good job, everybody, getting your contracts in. John, good show. And congrats on your intramural championship. Might be actually what I should say is congrats on hanging your intramural championship banner.
Yeah, I mean, I never really, played intramurals. I refed intramurals,
Yes, that's right.
Those that can't do ref, so.
Indeed. All right. For Brother John, this has been another RTF show. Thanks, everybody.
We're back, baby. End it, dude.
I can't. I'll have to cut it in post. We're going to do it in post. I guess we're going to have to do it in post. How do I do this, man?
Just